Last week's gospel ended with Jesus saying this: "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill." This week, he goes on to give examples of what he means by that. He starts out by reminding us of several of the best known of the Ten Commandments. There's "you shall not commit murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not bear false witness." He then takes each of them a step further. It is not enough, he says, that you not kill someone. It is also necessary that you not remain angry at them or insult them. Rather, you must reconcile any differences and honor all you meet. Also, it's not enough that you refrain from adultery. You should go further and not even long for such a thing to happen. You must instead try to get beyond seeing anyone as a sexual object. Finally, it's not enough that you always speak truly when swearing an oath. The fact is, you should never even need to swear an oath. If you always spoke the truth, it would never be questioned in a way that would make an oath necessary. It's true then that Jesus is taking nothing away from any of the Old Testament laws or prophets. Rather, he's taking it all much further. And in the prophet, he's making everything much, much harder for us. Or at least that's how it could seem. I know, because for a long time, that's exactly how I viewed it. I can remember reading these verses and thinking, really? Is this what you're asking, Jesus? You're saying that in order to be a good Christian, I'm now responsible not only for my own actions, but for every passing thought too, every feeling of anger, every flicker of attraction, every impulse to want to cover an awkward situation with a white lie. It's not enough that I never actually do these things. I'm now guilty just for having imagined them. Wow, Jesus, you really don't make it easy for us, do you? That's how I used to see it. Now I view it differently. No longer do I believe that Jesus is telling us that we're responsible not only for everything we do, but also for everything we think or feel. No, I don't think he's saying that at all. Rather, I believe that he's telling us that there's a better way to do things than just trying to follow a lot of laws. For one thing, unless you're going to make a law for each and every situation, laws are always going to leave a lot out. Beyond that, though, following laws always means that you're following something outside of you. We follow laws because someone else told us to do so. They don't change us. They don't change us, just our actions. Now, there are times when that's important, of course, but no law can ever change a heart. And a change of heart is what Jesus is after. That's why he suggests that without in any way abolishing laws, we must always go beyond them. We must change our hearts too. Laws alone won't do that, but something else will. It's this. It's loving God with all our heart, with all our mind, with all our soul, and our neighbor as ourself. Those are really two things, aren't they? So today he concentrates on the second half. How do you love your neighbor as yourself? Well, not by following laws. Rather, you do it by always asking yourself, what's best for the other person? In other words, Jesus is saying that all morality starts with feelings. He is saying that. But he also means one feeling in particular: love. All our actions with regard to other people are determined by whether that feeling is present or not. The thing is, what if we want that feeling of love, but we just don't have it? What do we do then? Well, Jesus is saying then you need to cultivate a desire to always want what is best for someone. Developing that desire until you have it for everyone. Each person who comes before you, no matter who they are, do this, and you can be pretty sure of always doing the right thing. But you're probably thinking, well, if that's what Jesus is after, why did he just say that? The thing is, he does say it. Of course, we all know how important love is to Jesus. It's central to everything. It's here in the Sermon on the Mount, and today's reading is an extension of the Sermon on the Mount. It's here in the Sermon on the Mount that Jesus elaborates on that and gets specific, though. It's here that he tells us how we learn to love others. Part of that is to understand that in order to be loving, we can't simply follow laws. We have to go deeper. We have to go inside ourselves to find that place where who we are connects with who God is, and draw from that a deep compassion for each and every person. It is this that will open us to want the best for that person. Because isn't that what love is? Oh, I know the word has other associations too, but don't they all come down to this in the end? Always wanting the best for someone? I believe they do. That's the mark of a truly loving person, someone who wants the best for each and every person they meet. And isn't it wonderful to be around someone like that? Someone who always wants the best for everyone? The thing is, I bet that every one of you here today can name someone just like that. Someone who you know personally. Not only that, but I'd go so far as to bet that this person is also someone who you admire and look up to for that very reason. I just think of how many times people have told me stories of a beloved grandmother who never let anyone go hungry. Even when it was hard for her to put food on her own table, she never let a homeless person go by without giving them food too. Or a cherished father who had a kind word for everyone, no matter who they were. Or a special sister who never fails to stop anything she's doing in order to listen to someone's troubles, even when they're those of a perfect stranger. We all know people like this. Just being around them changes you. You want to be near them. You want to be their friend. You want to be like them. That's because you know you can trust them. Such people will never let you down. You know, Francine Head told me a story along this line a few days ago. I tell it, as I always do, with her permission. It took place a number of years ago when she worked at a restaurant somewhere between here and Watsonville. Francine can correct any of the details I have wrong. It was a very nice restaurant, one that aimed at more formal dining. There was generally a live band, and people would dress up for it. They would expect something to be everything to be not only spotless, but even elegant. Francine was the hostess. She welcomed people as they arrived, checked their reservations, took them to their table, and generally set the tone for the evening. There was also a serving staff, and Francine, being who she is, got along with all of them. All except one, a woman named Barbara. As Francine put it, it wasn't so much that she and I didn't get along as that the two of us just didn't quite hit it off. I always seem to be getting in her way, and she always seemed to be getting in my way. We just didn't connect somehow. So without ever saying anything about it, we just kept our distance from each other. Then one day, Francine and Barbara found themselves working together. It was about an hour before the restaurant opened, and they were setting up when someone knocked on the door. Since she was the hostess, Francine went to open it. Standing there was a man in clothes that looked like they hadn't been washed in months. They were covered with dirt and mud. The man had clearly been sleeping outdoors for quite a while. In fact, he looked like he may have just recently awakened. Sticks and leaves were stuck to his hair and jacket. "I'm sorry to bother you," he said, but I'm very hungry. I wonder if I could get something to eat." "Of course," Francine said. "I'm going to sit you in the back because the band arrives in about an hour and our guests will be coming soon after that. But come in. I'll get you a table, then I'll bring you a plate of whatever we have tonight." Francine settled the man in comfortably, then set off for the kitchen. But on her way, Barbara suddenly stopped her. She stepped right in front of her, blocking her way, her manner challenging. "Are you going to feed that man?" she demanded. Francine stepped back and took a deep breath and nodded. "I am," she said, ready for anything. "Why?" "Because," Barbara responded slowly, eyeing her closely. "If you don't, I'm going to feed him." She paused, then added, "That man might be Jesus, you know." With that, both women smiled and they laughed. And from that moment forward, they were fast friends. And why not? They each had recognized the other as someone who always wants the best for others. And who doesn't want to be friends with someone like that? Not only do you know that that person will always want the best for you too, but it is just so heartwarming to watch all the things they do to make others feel welcome and comfortable and safe and cared for. Or at least that's how it is for you if you yourself want the best for others too. So you see, what Jesus is asking us really isn't all that difficult. As a matter of fact, I believe everyone here is already working to do that. And in doing so, we all help each other to continue to be the best people we can be too. As I like to say, it's a lot easier to be loving when you're surrounded by loving people. And it is. Just look around. Isn't it true? Amen.